Hi, I'm Andy Powell. Welcome to the Purpose Project. All topics are fair game. I hope you enjoy. Jon Wright,
Howdy.
running for sheriff.
Yes, sir.
Awesome, man. We're going to go through a few different type of things, like the scope of where you were born and raised, stuff like that. What's your work history? All the kind of stuff you would do in like a regular job interview.
Okay.
And then get into some like real questions, I think.
Yep.
So, where were you born?
Phoenix, Arizona. I was born in Phoenix. For the most part, lived in South Phoenix. Came from a pretty poor family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, things are rough at that time. And in that time, I saw a lot of the neighborhood being taken advantage of. You know, you had a lot of drug dealers. You had, scam artists. You had all kind of things. My family was involved in it as well, some of them. And from a very young age, I took protecting people seriously, which got me into a lot of trouble in school. But
Oh, yeah. I bet. You grew up in South Phoenix then?
Yeah, I grew up in South Phoenix.
What high school did you go to?
I went to South Mountain High School. I
Right on.
went to Washington High School. I went to skipped a year. Didn't go to school. Wasn't anything that I did. Yeah, I think I went to a lot of high schools there. We moved around a lot. My family was primarily homeless, so a lot of park benches.
Really?
Yeah, I slept in cars, that kind of thing.
What age range were you mostly homeless?
I want to say from probably about 8 years old to about 13, something
Wow.
like that. Yeah.
Wow, okay.
Learned how to walk real fast though, so it was great.
Yeah, I bet. Pushing stuff around in carts and all that?
No, we didn't have the cart thing. We had the backpack thing. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Right on.
yeah, it was real rough.
Yeah, those carts can really limit where you can traverse.
Sure.
So after the homeless chapter, you guys moved into a place?
No. I ended up going out and stayed with my mom, tried to take me in there. Like I said, I didn't really fit well. School wasn't kind of my thing. C student, I'm proud of it. Yeah.
I took geometry twice in high school.
Yeah, there was a kid named John Ellis. I think he was responsible for me graduating my sophomore year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Helped you with your homework and all the
Just a
tests
little
and
bit,
stuff. Right on.
Yeah.
So how long were you in Phoenix until you moved
So
away?
I was in Phoenix my entire childhood. I graduated from Camp Verde High School, so I ended up moving. But after that, I joined the military. So, back then, it was a lot different. You had these views of what I envisioned as a child was views of stability. Having a house, taking care of your family, having a wife, the traditional American values. And I think that growing up, even in the ghetto or hood or whatever that's called now with their slang, I think that I had a different idea or a different approach. I wanted that the apple pie kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I really went after that.
Right on. And what branch of the military did you join?
I was in the Army.
Cool. What'd you do there?
I was an MP. So we went out to basic training, Fort Lost in the Woods. If anybody knows where that's at.
Yeah, I know that's at.
You know where that's
Yep.
at? Okay, cool. And then from there I went to Leavenworth. We had a different kind of mission at Leavenworth. We're also, we transitioned between whether you're a jail guard or whether you're help the guys out on patrol, whether you're, there's a lot of different things. It's they have a very unique mission out there.
For people who don't know, MP is military police.
Yes.
So you're a police officer in the military, which
Right.
means that you're either living on base being basically a policeman for all the soldiers,
Correct.
which I'm sure that has its own
Yeah,
set of stories.
well, I mean, it was right in my wheelhouse, right? A lot of altercations. So,
Yeah.
you got to put people where they're supposed to be sometimes. But I think that the 8 years that I did, I think that it was some of the best years of my life. You meet the relationships that you build, and I really believe that's what America should look like. You have people from all different walks of life with a common goal to get things done.
Yeah.
So I do miss it.
Yeah. And Fort Lost in the Woods is Fort Leonard Wood, which is in Missouri, right?
Right, and then I was stationed in Leavenworth.
Where is
It's
Leavenworth?
in Kansas.
Kansas.
So if you look
Okay.
at Kansas in the very tippy top right hand corner, that's Leavenworth.
How long were you there?
8 years.
8 years. Oh, man. Okay.
Never deployed. They didn't let us deploy. Like I said, we had a unique kind of mission there.
So, are they really doing at Leavenworth what the soldiers say that they're doing? They're breaking big rocks into small rocks with hammers?
Yeah. So my first 2 years there, I worked in the castle. I mean, it goes back to when the Germans were hung in the bell tower and that whole thing. If you know any history about Leavenworth,
I don't.
But then if you go underground, it was the craziest thing. You see shackles on the walls. You see, like where they shackle, and so they built what they called the castle on top of it. It's no longer there. But they built it up pretty good. And until a ceiling tile fell on the inmate's head, we didn't think we needed to move from there. It's the military, so
Yeah.
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 So
wait until it's
it was
dire.
a lot of things. A lot of fights. I mean, so far as the base itself, I mean, unless you're like on certain bases, I heard there's gang problems on bases now, which blows my mind.
Yeah, it's weird.
But from you learn a lot about law, and when you're out on the road, and because you have two different. You had at the time it was the 95 Bravos and 95 Charlies. I don't know what they're called now. I think it's like 31 Echo and another one's. I don't know. They changed the MOS title.
Yeah.
But
What year did you join?
it was in 99. I'm bad with dates, but I think it was 99 or early 2000, around that time.
And then you got out 8 years later?
Yeah.
Okay. Right on.
Well, I got out and then got recalled, and then.
Oh, you got recalled.
Yeah,
How long was it before you got recalled?
I want to say 6 months after I got out. What they were doing was which I mean, you didn't have the internet wasn't what it is today. So they put all the names in the newspaper and was like, you better show up. So I'll see you soon.
Oh, man.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people. There's a misunderstanding that you do 2 years or 3 years or 4 years, and some of it is based on because you're security clearance, you might be a lifer. Just because you're out doesn't mean you're out. They can always call you back.
Right. There's that. Well, I think it's an 8-year total if you have less than an 8-year contract.
Correct.
And I don't know what it is if it's beyond.
It's 8, and then you go to certain schools, and that just keeps getting extended. So
okay.
It depends on what you do.
Man, right on. Okay. I was at Fort Stewart actually as a scout.
Was that Georgia, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a whole different culture over there, man.
Yeah.
Everybody moves way slower.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't know. I did work in Georgia, and it's just very green, but it's very muggy.
Yeah.
Muggy.
Yeah, that's rough. And you have children?
I do. I do. My oldest live in Phoenix, and I just had a baby. So.
Oh, wow. Congrats.
Yeah. So being a dad, and I love being a dad.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's like any other thing. It gets a little hard sometimes. Especially with, the current culture of of America. I mean, when I was a kid, I mean, it was more of a village type thing, right? So whether right or wrong, or whether what the adults were teaching you, that was kind of the code of conduct for your area that you're in, So if you had good, good traditions or good, family, you followed those, and usually if you had bad family, you followed those. I was just lucky to escape it.
Mm-hmm.
But in today's culture, I mean, look what's going around. We don't even know if we're men or women anymore. It's just totally ridiculous. And, you're trying to raise your kids in this environment or this, and if they want to be right, they just get online. They'll find a million people that think they're right.
Yeah.
And not only that, but they'll encourage them.
Yeah, confirmation bias.
So you're combating, a lot more things than when I was a kid.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a whole different game for these young kids.
Correct.
I feel for them, and makes me angry with what they're allowing in schools and that whole thing.
Yeah, it should make you angry. And I mean, we'll probably talk about it a little later, but there's a reactive and a proactive approach to different things. I've been approached by many committees and organizations and stuff, and it's just mainly my message. Like, I am for the people.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not somebody that, I know it's a political job, but I'm learning politics, right? So so it's a lot of the BS I really don't like. And I always ask people, what are you doing for your community?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it could be anything, right? Like, we're kind of cheating. We're police officers, so we can say a bunch of stuff, right? But I mean, Mother Teresa said, she had this quote. I think she was in India. Don't quote me on that, but I think she was in India, and she was kind of feeling disconnected. She couldn't figure out why God would let all this happen, and things like that. And one of the reporters walked up to her and said, how do you fix this? Because she's in all this poverty and stuff. And Mother Teresa looked straight at her, dead in her face, and said, "Well, start with the person next to you." And I never forgot that quote. That's always been something very powerful for me.
Yeah.
If you're a community, start with the person next to you.
That's it.
What I see right now with the political landscape is somebody comes up with some idea, and then it gets tweeted back and forth, and that's literally the information. So that's why I'm happy to be on this podcast, have some real questions being answered, except for what you saw on X, or formerly Twitter, or True Social, or whatever you saw today.
Mm-hmm.
It's good to sit down and actually have a conversation.
Yeah, and that's really where you get down to the meat and potatoes of any person. Anybody can say anything or make a social media page look a certain way, but when you get in the same room as a person, you can feel that person,
right?
And you can really read them. Whereas through a screen, it doesn't really happen.
Yeah.
So, so what are some of your accomplishments and some of the stuff that you've done in law enforcement other than military?
Well, outside the military, I kind of continued. I guess I could just give you the whole rundown.
Sure, yeah.
If that works.
Yeah.
So I was in the military. On the military, I was on the post-reaction force team, which is kind of like you would call it a SWAT team. But it was during the whole 9/11, time and everything else like that. We're marching up and down the streets. It looks like how you would, the outside world didn't look like that, but our inside world did.
Like martial law kind of
feel?
Yeah,
so you had for law and things like that, you had the UCMJ, which you're very familiar with. It's kind of one-sided, but it is what it is. And then from after that, I got out and started working for these companies, Sierra Detention, ISI. ISI is called Argyle Security Systems now. And what they do is they build government safe houses, they build jails, they build federal buildings. And what we did was we secured them. So you're talking about bulletproof glass, bulletproof walls, jails. You're talking about a jail, right?
Yeah.
Closing doors, all those kind of things. And then I found myself, so I traveled a lot. I traveled for about 6-7 years. And it started feeling like I was getting pulled away from the family a little bit. And I decided, I was like, I want to go home, and at this place, it's like, yeah, I had an address, but I was hardly ever there. See the kids, weekend every 2 months kind of thing. Man. Because I excelled pretty fast. Whatever job I had, I was in upper management within, pretty quickly. I think that's just a God-given gift. I don't think it has anything to do with anything I'm doing special. But it took a lot of responsibility, and I was just done with it. And I was like, what do I know how to do? And I was like, well, I know how to be a cop. So I watched actually the Oath Keepers were having a YouTube podcast, and they're talking to Scott Masher, which I really admire that man. And he's the reason why I came back to Yavapai County. That's why I chose the sheriff's office. He was the sheriff prior to Rhodes.
Okay.
Yeah, so came here with the sheriff's office. Wasn't off probation yet. Made the SWAT team. So I was a breacher on the team. From there, was there for about three and a half years, something like that. Like I said, I'm bad with dates. And then from there, now I work for the tribe, and I think it's been like a little over a year or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, so far as the experience in totality, I mean, I don't know what that looks like. You have 8 + 3 plus, and then the cool part about that thing is that you have a lot of experience with different things. So you have the UCMJ, you have state law, right? You have tribal law, and you in federal law. Because I'm considered a federal officer now. I don't know how to feel about that, but that's what they call us.
I don't know how to feel about that either.
But it's the job, right? I'm really well versed in the law across the board.
Mm-hmm.
So
Good. And as far as working for the tribal department,
this is tribal police.
Yeah, the tribal police. Now, what exactly does that entail? Because there's certain jurisdictions, there's land that's kind of surrounded by non-tribal land.
Right. So it's in a a bird's eye view. If you're kind of looking, if you just you're a cop. I'm post certified, so I can be a cop anywhere. It doesn't matter if you're in the tribe. There really aren't any jurisdictional lines.
Okay.
Which that's it's one of my things too, because I think the departments and agencies should work more together. But there's reasons they don't. It's for Prescott itself. It's up 89. 69, where the shops are all at. Mm-hmm. All the way to Watson Lake, that big mountain you see on the left. The Yavapai connector that comes up.
Yeah.
And then plus the reservation as well. So a lot of the things that we do, we do back up. Prescott PD when we get a chance. Especially you're coming from the sheriff's office where you're taking 13, 14 high risk calls a day. Those guys, those deputies are something else.
Yeah.
I miss them, but I had to leave. I was having a son, so I decided to leave. I just didn't have time to raise a boy, and like I said, in this kind of culture, you really want to spend that time with your kids.
Yeah, you got to be there present with them.
Yeah,
for sure. Now, what is your heritage? Like, what's your ethnic background?
Okay, so my mom's Mexican, and my dad's black.
Okay,
so I'm Blaxican.
Blaxican.
I don't know if that's a thing.
Is that a technical term?
No, it's not.
Okay. Right on.
It's not. If I ever get enough money, I'll start my own country. It'll be like Blaxico or something.
You only need 150 people.
Do you?
Yeah, we can talk more about that later.
Okay.
Yeah, to create your own set of laws and stuff like that. I read it somewhere. I don't know how true it is, but 150 is the number apparently. Now, working with the tribe and then kind of cross working with other agencies, you guys use the same dispatch, like on the radios?
Yeah, so the tribe we use the same radios, the same dispatch as Prescott. Mm-hmm. Prescott Police Department, PPD, and Prescott Valley use. So it's the same dispatchers.
So Prescott and Prescott Valley are all on the same dispatch channel?
Yeah, well, they're on two different channels. So
right.
you have Fire on one channel, you have Prescott on another channel, which is our channel too, and then you have Prescott Valley
on a separate channel.
On a separate channel. Yeah.
Got it. I do ham radio stuff, so I'm always trying to figure out who's where the towers are, what can I tap into.
Well, it's a shout out to a deputy. His name's Evan McLean. I'll give him a shout out, but he gave me education one time on ham radios. He actually gave me an entire list of frequencies. I remember right before I was leaving, I wanted to pass that out, but I think it's more important now than ever, something like that. Like, he can talk to people at Walmart on their handheld radios.
It's crazy.
And I was like, so if you ever did have a mass shooting or a mass casualty event, being able to actually tap into those kind of things, I would be super valuable. But I learned a lot from him so far as radios and stuff like that.
Good. I got some questions about that. You see that little radio over there? To the right of the speaker, if you put a different antenna on that thing could go 15 miles. That could hit Mingus Mountain repeater.
Really?
Yeah, it could transmit just with a little bit bigger antenna. It's crazy what those things can do.
The only time I usually see those in people's houses or people, we had to kick some doors down and
they're listening.
They were trying. I don't know. They never turned it on.
Well, yeah. Apparently, otherwise you wouldn't have made it.
You see those a lot, especially in some areas. Yeah.
Yeah. Right on. Well, I was looking at some website that listed some of your campaign points and stuff that's like, okay, these are the things that you feel are important.
Yes.
And we'll talk about a little bit about those.
Okay.
So the first one I saw was to build trust and promote transparency between law enforcement and the community through open communication and mutual respect.
Right.
Now, I can already feel that open communication, mutual respect. As far as promoting transparency between the law enforcement and the community, how is that currently lacking? Like,
I don't. I mean, say you're I'm the sheriff, right? And I fully expect to win. But we'll say we're having this conversation right now, right? What if you wanted to speak to me, right? And you had an issue with your community? How would you do that right now?
I'd have to know somebody who knows you personally, and then ask them if they can get me a meeting or your
Okay.
phone number.
Well, I mean, it's you do. I'm sure he gets tons of emails and things like that. But the thing is to actually create something to where you gather people with that same idea, whatever that question is, and you gather them. That's kind of what we're doing on the campaign trail right now too, right? I'm trying to model that. We're meeting in houses, we're meeting in small groups. I mean, all these committees, they're great, right? But they all have, their kind of agenda, and they all want a piece of you. What I'm trying to get, what I'm trying to develop is I work for the people, right? I protect the people's constitutional rights. I want to be the tip of that spear, and in order to do so, you need that other man on the other side of that, right? That's holding the spear, that points at that, thrusts that spear, and that's the community. And if you're not listening to your community, then I think that it's a disservice. I think it's very disrespectful.
Yeah.
You have, and I said this, and I live in Prescott now. I used to have a ranch out in Chino, but that's a whole nother story. But I live in Prescott now. When I talk to some of the committee members and stuff like that, I try to remind them, like, Yavapai County is bigger than Prescott. When I was with the sheriff's office, my area was from Ash Fork to Seligman. So Ashtopia, I like to call it.
Ashtopia.
You got all your sovereigns out there. You got, Juniper Woods Ranch. You got, you got all that, right? Those are my people,
Yeah.
right? And they hold you accountable. They hold you accountable, and they should. And when I say hold you accountable, it's not some social media thing or something that you see on TV. It's how you talk to them. Shake my hand. Look at me. Be a man. Be a person. And that's how I was. When I was in the military. That's what changed me. And I think that's very important. Being able to be reached, right? If you're only able to be reached because you're this politician,
Yeah.
right? Through, I know a guy that knows a guy that knows a guy, right? I mean, you have my email now,
Yeah.
right? You just email me. Hey, Sandy, what's going on? There's issues, they have this and that. And you can't solve all the problems at one time. But what you can do is you can reach back out and be like, hey, I can't take care of this right now, but let's talk on this day, or let's talk on that day, right? You have a staff around you. You're not doing it all by yourself. And I think that, I was just talking to one of the justice of the peace, and trying to partnership with the sheriff's office, and kind of gets ignored. So if they can't do it, if the judges that convict these criminals that are out here, or penalize these criminals, can't get through to a sheriff's office, you don't stand a chance.
Yeah.
Right. And I think that it's just. For me, it's America first. Everything I've done is to protect America, but this round of thing is Yavapai first, and I keep trying to bring people back around to that idea. They want to talk about illegal immigrants and things like that, and I say, hey, we have borders in Yavapai County too.
Yeah.
So we need to clean this up first, and then we could be an example for the nation, right? So it's like, how are they doing it up there, and it's working right? It takes ideas. In order to have those ideas, you don't wake up one day and say, yeah, I got this idea, so I'm going to make it happen. No, dude, you're surrounded by an entire community full of ideas, people that are experiencing those kind of things. And that's where that transparency comes in. Transparency don't mean like, oh, a cop did something bad or somebody did something bad. Transparency means that you know what I'm doing daily. So at the end of every week after being elected, what I'll have is a press conference. I'll have, I'll set it up, a live little thing, put your little, just kind of like how you guys do, right? In the podcast, live podcast. And sit there and talk to the community, right? And just like how we are right now, none of this was planned. So you're going to have some zinger kind of questions coming at you. But it's
you would be taking questions.
I would be taking those questions.
Sick.
So the thing is that you're talking directly to the community. I mean, you only have so much time in a day, right? But the thing is that you're trying. And if you start to do it, you start to be an example. Like I said, that tip of the spear mentality. Everybody else will. The deputy on the road will. The community leaders will. You know, it's like, for example, even say our own Republican Party here, and you wanted to talk to, I don't know, one of the chairmen, right? If I went down the street right there to a Republican that votes red their entire life, 50 years old, who do they call? Right? So it's being that example and opening it up, getting back to that American pie, right? Getting back to those American traditional values, getting back to those, you could knock on the door and, hey man, you got any sugar kind of thing, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's that's what I envision the county being again. And it takes a lot, and it takes a lot of people, and one person is not going to do it.
Yeah, I agree. Thank you. The second one that we have here is to forge stronger partnerships with community organizations. So the strong partnerships, kind of like what we were just talking about.
It's a little different too.
As far as strengthening partnerships with community organizations, charities, local businesses to better understand and address the needs of our community.
Yes.
What are some of the needs of the community that you see other than what we just spoke of?
So we're part of me and my wife, we're part of this teen task force. It's mainly her thing, but it's just people that, like, I don't want to say impoverished. I don't want to say that. I say people that have a rough start,
Struggling,
right? And that speaks to like my heart, right? You know, like you said, we're joking about pushing fucking
carts,
grocery carts around,
yeah.
right? And it's a joke now, but for some of those people, it's not. Teen Task Force is a great organization, and they do put them in nice clothes. They buy them all the clothes. They runway, they mentor them, and they do a lot of things. But it's just not that organization. You also have other organizations that try to help the homeless. We can get more into that too. But then you have other organizations that, it's just shoe handout, food, you name it, it's out there. People want to help. And the cool thing is that you don't have to come up with your own idea. They already thought about it.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's what this county is lacking, is a sheriff that will, I can't do everything for you, but I can stand behind you and support you, right? It's lowering that podium a little bit, right? So it's less of a step down, right? So you can still be humble and allow that community to step up.
Yeah.
And when, those people that have these great ideas, that want to do things for the community, to better it, not to, they see what's coming. Look, Phoenix is purple now, right? You want to talk about Tucson? You got San Francisco up north, right? So it's they see this coming, and they're trying.
Yeah.
Right? And it's to have that lion standing behind them, protecting them, giving them a platform, and allowing them to speak. And that's how you build partnerships, right? Because they know they have that support, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Excellent. Thank you. Number 3, we have improved training and resources for law enforcement officers. What's the most important thing that our deputies and our officers don't have?
What do you mean?
Like, what do they need the most?
They need support. They need support from, from what I'm hearing. Now, when I was a touchy subject because I don't want to put anybody out there. They need support, just like I talked about ideas. Everything could be better, right? So far as, you're talking about, weapons or tech or, all these different kind of things, they need more of it.
So they need an administration that's willing to take to heart the things that they need and actually act on them.
Right. And I was talking to, just to give you an example, because it's when I gave those campaign points, in my mind, it was, I had a very clear vision of what that looks like.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example. Currently, when I was at the sheriff's office, we'd have our area meetings, and in those area meetings, a lot of people would bring up a lot of good points. A lot of people would bring up, hey, this is where the crime's at. These are the bad guys that are doing the stuff. This is what's going on. I have all these ideas, and that's where they'd stop. I don't know why it would stop there, but that's where it would stop, right? I'm sure, leadership is some of the sergeants are amazing people. Some of the lieutenants are amazing people. So it has to stop somewhere, because I can't say that being in charge of an organization, you don't know what's going on, because you would have to know what's going on, right? or you would assume that you know what's going on.
You'd think that, yeah.
You would think that, right? And I was talking to the deputy, and I was like, how is this for an idea? Right? Because I'm all about communication. I'm all about talking with people and stuff like that. When you have these deputies that are coming here, some on their off time, to have these meetings, is about, which, they're about different things. They're not always about one thing. But when you have, and my secretary will work a lot, but when you have your sheriff standing there and your secretary standing there and you need policy change, it's happening in real time, right? There's no tell your sergeant, your lieutenant. You're not having area meetings every month. Like, you know what I mean? You're having area, like, you can do that in a year. You can schedule 4 times a year to sit there and listen to the people out there that are putting their life, not just on the line for their community, but for you, for what you stand for, what you're doing in the community, right? So, it's just about that communication, man.
It makes me think of
because, say, for example, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, go for it.
But just say it's we'll just throw an example out there. Say it's like just the red dots on pistols, which they all have now. But just say that's one of the ideas, or suppressors on rifles, or this and that, right? It has to do with healthcare, your hearing, all that kind of thing. And if people wanted that, and it doesn't violate anything that we're trying to do, it pushes a sheriff, and being present pushes that sheriff in that direction. It gives them a different way to look at the things when you're talking to people on the ground, and you don't have that. So when I'm saying working together, better equipment, things like that, all those things are going to come up. Yeah. And like I said, it's not about coming in with these new novel ideas. Right. Those guys with boots on the ground right now, they know exactly what they need.
Yeah, it's just about implementing what they actually need.
It's about implementing exactly what they need. And how about we get a head start by being present?
Yeah.
In that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you know how the money plays a factor into all that?
I do. I've been studying the county's finances. That's kind of what I've been trying to do this last month, actually.
Is it a shortage of budget, a shortage of money?
I think it's a couple of things, right? Because the board of supervisors is the one that decides. You have to go talk to them too, right? And then the sheriff's office gets a budget. I'm seeing from the government as well, and all that money kind of ties together, right? But what I'm seeing right now is, it's just, even when I was there, and I'm gonna be completely honest, because I can, and I know the deputies and cops are listening too, and I want to be honest for them. We had a certain somebody. He went to we'll say leadership, and said, "Hey man, Christmas is coming around. Maybe we should give these guys a little bit." This is before the pay raises. You know what they did? They created 3, or there 2 at the time, or 3, 2 or 3 new positions, commander positions in Yavapai County. Now, I don't know what a commander does, but I know who the commanders are.
I know what a commander doesn't do.
But I tell you, and they're damn good cops. Do not get me wrong. They are damn good deputies.
Yeah.
But that's $140,000 salary times 3 or times 2. It's just how you're wasting money. We got a jail over there with nobody in it.
Yeah.
Right? So what was that, $700 million? How much was that? How much was that, Joe?
I don't know how much it was.
I don't know. But I mean, it's empty.
As opposed to giving, Christmas bonuses for all the deputies.
Yeah, right. And
right.
And that's the kind of thing. That's like, it was like my second year in or something like that happened. But it's just money management. And also, there's so many, like if you look at Prescott Valley, right? They're a good example. People have, feel different ways about, their leadership. But I tell you what, the community don't pay for hardly any of what they got. Those do government grants, right? Now, government grants, you are tied, and you get to pick which ones you want. So it's not like you're tied to the government and you have to do all these kind of things. I'm not talking about
somebody gets to pick.
Yeah,
which grants get given to the department.
Right. Well, you have to write for them, and then they get accepted or not accepted. That's kind of how it works.
I see.
So it's I'm a taxpayer. You're a taxpayer. The sheriff's office shouldn't be a burden or add burden to you having to pay, even in more tax, right?
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be. And I don't know what that looks like for what we're spending on this jail. I do have some plans for it. We're gonna try to fill that thing up, but
Don't force it.
Well, I was talking to somebody, and we have these issues with the illegal immigrants.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a way to come into the country, and there's not a way to come into the country, right? I think there should be a vetting process.
Yeah.
I think it should be how it was supposed to design to be.
Yeah.
Right. I think it should be very hard. If I wanted to go live in England right now, I'm pretty sure it's a daunting process, right?
Mm.
But here we are running around with open borders, like I don't get it, man.
We were talking about a burden on the shoulder of the
burden
taxpayers.
Yeah,
That's it right there.
Exactly, right? And the thing is that if you can pull some of that government money, and I don't know, this is just an idea swimming in my head.
Verbal processing.
Yeah, verbal processing it right now for you. But if we have an empty jail and we're pulling over illegals on the freeway right now and then cutting them loose because they have nowhere to go, I'd say this: if we have a place to put them, we'd take their asses right back down to the border.
Yeah.
Right? Instead of just like, oh, you can't do nothing.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, no, we pack them up. They make their way back up here again. We'll put them right back in.
Yeah,
take them right back down to the border, right?
Yeah.
And the government will be fitting that bill. People, Yavapai County won't be fitting that bill.
Mm.
So it's that's my plan to actually use the jail. But then that comes with recruiting too. So I mean, we can get into that, but
right on. Well, how do you feel about mandatory martial arts or jiu-jitsu training for officers or deputies?
They do so far as like in the academy, mandatory. You said?
Well, the academy.
Yeah, the academy is one thing. I think that what do you mean, like they have to go to like some dojo down here? Or something?
Yeah, like once a week or something, they have to go train.
I mean, it's a great idea. I train, so I mean, it's a great idea. But you're also talking about you have to look at it family wise too. How much time are you actually taking from them? Our deputies currently are way overworked.
Yeah.
Just whether it's manning, whether it's whatever the issues are over there right now. I mean, if you're working 80 hours a week, 75 hours a week, you're going to go hit that mandatory training, or you want to some time, to decompress or, things like that.
I've talked to a few different officers or former law enforcement guys about this, and the structure that I've come up with is currently most police work like a 4-10 shift. Is that right?
Well, it's supposed to be 4-10s.
It's now like 4-15s.
Well, I mean, the longest shift I ever worked at Sheriff's Office was like 16 hours, 16, 17 hours.
Yeah.
So it's supposed to be 10.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you are hiring on enough guys, then you could take one of those 4 days a week, and there are 3 days a week doing the actual on the ground stuff, and 1 day a week they're doing all training.
Yeah, so it's the military concept that you're using actually, right? So you have that with green, yellow, red.
Keep that higher standard.
Right, keep the standard.
Yeah.
I think it's a great idea.
Is it feasible or possible?
I think everything is possible. But even with possibilities comes possible when, right? So to implement that, you would have to have the manning to do that.
Yep.
Right? You would have to be able to reach out to people. I mean, look at all those cops in Washington and all those cops in, Oregon, all those cops in Chicago. You think they love their job? All those cops in LA. I got a place they could work.
Dude.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're under, they're disrespected. They're literally scared to lose their pensions. And what does that turn into? What does that look like for cops that are in that environment, that pressure cooker like that?
Well, they're not as incentivized to actually enforce laws because there's so few of them. There's the people that are divided against them, saying that they want to defund them because they don't understand that they actually need the cops until they're in a situation where they actually need the cops.
Right. So the way I look at it is like this. If a government were to use the cops against the people, which is it's a healthy fear that we have. I think that should be a very healthy fear for most people.
Yeah.
Where would that happen at? They would happen in environments just like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I can't fathom it, right? I watch it on TV too. Tell me if you've seen the movies. So this LA cop pulls over somebody. He's like, "Oh, partner, gun." Right? Like, yeah. I mean, yeah, he has a gun. It's his right to have a gun. It's part of his freedoms. It's his constitutional right to have a gun.
Not in LA,
right?
it's not.
Exactly. Right? So the thing is that you have those deterioration of rights
Yeah.
that people are having. It doesn't matter if it's in your trunk. It doesn't matter, where it's at, right? It shouldn't be partner gun.
Yeah.
Like, you think those cops like doing that? Or do you think that when they first got into it, that it was about the oath? It was about protecting people. It was about those kind of things, right? And now you got this dad that's trying to protect his family. And, his gun wasn't wherever the hell it was supposed to be. I think it's the trunk or something
Well,
like that.
one part's supposed to be in the glove box,
Right.
and it's supposed to be separate from the ammo. I know that much.
Oh, wow.
In California.
Yeah, I don't know how you use that.
You don't.
But I mean, what you see is you'll start to see that deterioration of rights, right? And it's like you're turning law-abiding citizens into criminals.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't
Not a fan.
agree with that. Not a fan.
Yeah, cool.
Not a fan. But there's other organizations that we could reach out to or people,
Yeah.
give them a place to be, a part of what freedom actually looks like, to be a place that takes their, our borders, Yavapai first, right? Our borders seriously,
Well, that's one good thing about Yavapai County, and the people that are here, I think, highly value the Constitution and the freedoms and the rights and know what it takes to maintain that.
Yeah, I would say this is the last. I want to say the last. I mean, you got smaller counties, but counties that actually can make a real big impact in a short amount of time. I think that we're the last red county standing.
Number 4, enhance accountability measures to ensure that deputies are held to the highest standards of conduct and reward them for their daily heroic actions. Is that kind of what we were talking about already?
No. What I meant when I said that is I don't really want to use this platform to bash another candidate. I don't. But
well, I mean,
if we're being honest,
bashing is one thing.
yeah.
Telling how somebody's failing the people is a different thing.
Right. So I mean, it's if you look at it like this, you look at it like if you run an organization and you couldn't get a job at your own organization, right? There's no accountability. People think that accountability is like standing somewhere and saying, "I'm sorry, I made a mistake," right? And that's a very small part. I look at accountability because I can't look at it from a women's point of view because I'm not one, but from a man's point of view, it's a little different. It's taking complete ownership, right? Should you be there? Probably not, right? If you're a man about it, you wouldn't even be there, and I wouldn't even be running, right? But the thing is that there has to be some kind of example set. There has to be this standard that you're held to, right? Like you were saying about working out and things like that. What is their incentive to go work out when they work, 13, 14 hours a day, doing all these calls, right? And what's the incentive? Let's incentivize these guys, right?
To stay alive.
Yeah, stay alive. It's a real thing out there in Highline. I'll tell you that for sure. Yeah, it's again, it goes back to setting the example. It really does.
Is there something that's happened that the people do or don't know about?
You're talking about misdeeds of the actual sheriff. You're talking about being convicted of crimes. You're talking about being put on, probation. Things like that's not a top cop.
Right.
And the thing is that to be completely honest, we all make mistakes, right? We all do. But sometimes acknowledging those mistakes requires you to step down. And that's what I can't stand about politicians.
Yeah.
Is do as we say, not as we do.
Yeah.
We get to talk to you and dictate things to you. You don't even, there's no way you can even contact me.
Right. That's
right.
part
And
of
that's
the
what I
problem.
can't stand about the whole political aspect that I'm learning.
Yeah.
And I am. Every day it's a new thing, right? But yeah, I think that accountability should be there. But unfortunately in this day and age, it's not. So, and like you said, giving deputies the credit for doing the actual work that they're doing.
Yeah.
And that's another thing. Like I said, you have that presser every Friday, and that's what you're doing. You're not standing up there, the criminals you are looking for and things like that. Yeah. Let them know what the sheriff's office is doing. Yeah. How we're spending money, of course. Right. But using that platform to be like, this deputy in this neighborhood, this deputy in this neighborhood, this deputy in this neighborhood. Some neighborhoods around or towns around Yavapai County, they don't even know who the dang sheriff is, but they know who that deputy is. right? And that the work of that sole deputy is their reflection of safety, you know. And it's like let's give them a little bit of credit.
Yeah.
You know, I get the whole drug seizures and stuff like that. I mean, Pant kicks butt. You have the K9 unit that kicks butt. You know, you got all those kind of things, but it's like you got to get back down. You got to pretend like you're like you just got recruited. You know, take it back to that passion, and have that passion for the people that are under you. You know?
Yeah, right on. Have mid-level management engage in community events.
Exactly.
All right.
See where I'm getting at now?
Yeah.
We have this conversation. The boots on the ground don't have a lot of time to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They don't. I would institute a corporal program to help the sergeants actually with their paperwork and getting these reports approved, right?
Okay.
Freeing them up. But under my tenure,
So
the lieutenants and the captains, they're going to be out in the community all day long.
For people who don't know that how the policing works, like, all right, you're an officer on the ground, you have to write a report, you submit it through your chain of command, then it has to get edited basically and approved.
Yeah,
Is that correct?
but you're talking about, so say you have 13 calls, that's 13 reports. You have one sergeant that has 6 of those guys. Those are coming in daily, right? That just the stress level that the sergeants have to go through to read all these, because if they get it wrong, that goes into court, right? Then you have these lawyers that get these guys off and stuff like that. So you're trying to make it has to be accurate. It has to be, you have to go over them. You have to read them.
So the workload of these guys who have to read these reports is just huge.
And it's taking that workload off of them, because you have damn good deputies out there that can help a sergeant, which you get a little bump in pay, but you'd be like a corporal, right? And you do some of the report right. I mean, it's just being a sergeant doesn't magically make you good at authorizing reports, right?
I know that.
It's maximizing the people you have.
Yeah.
Right. But so far as when I said mid-level and high level management, yeah, I'm going to be out in the community. I'm going to be out there taking calls. I'm going to be out there. I can't do it all the time. But the thing is that if I do it, if I'm able to take calls on a Friday and Saturday and give another deputy that day off, I'm writing my own paper. Right? I'm not, the deputy just doesn't show up. No, it's my call. I'll write my own paper. Yeah. And I do that, we'll say twice a month. Right? And then plus be out there in the community, back in these organizations. I was just talking to somebody in Dewey, and they're talking about this is off topic, but talking about their water rights and things like that, right? These new communities. That's not what the community, that's what the real estate agents want. Last time I checked the Yavapai County politics, there's a lot of real estate investors in there, right?
Oh, yeah.
It's weird how that works. But the thing is that why do they have a sheriff that'll stand behind them? Do they have an agency that says, I can't do nothing about this? Civil, but what I can do is I can support you. Mm-hmm. And when I support you, other people are going to support you. You'll start to get that support, right? It's just like having, I don't want to put it like a kid kind of thing, but you can't control what your kids do all the time, right? But you can support them. It's the same concept, right? It's just being out there, being at the forefront, being that spear, being that tip of the spear. That it's like, oh man, we're gonna, we want to, look at Chino right now. The Prescott, I think, gets 8 million gallons of water from Chino every single day, or a week or whatever that is. And we're going to build a rock quarry out there and start digging into all that water, our best water that's out there. It's just, I wonder what the residents think about that.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of stuff that happens at the more affluent level of events in this area that a lot of residents don't agree with or don't want.
Right.
They don't have any control or say over it.
Right. But you know what? It's when I get there and I get elected, whether you agree with me or not, you're like, here comes that damn sheriff. I know he's going to say something about it, right? Yeah. And it's just standing for the people. It's being one of the people and being for the people.
At the end of the day, obviously, I don't speak for all the people, but I am a part of We the People. And in my eyes, at the end of the day, what the entire law enforcement arm is an extension of the people.
Exactly.
We created for ourselves a group of people who will help to maintain the laws that we have established and to keep us balanced.
And imagine if us as a community can actually take hold of that set of ideas. How can that permeate to the other counties around us? How can that permeate outside the state, right? So when people actually look at conservatives and look at Republicans, they see them out there. It's weird that these Democrats are doing all this stuff and they get all this credit, right? And they're destroying our country. But they're out there in their communities doing things, right? I had me and Rick was at a campaign meeting. And I'm not going to mention who was there, where it was at, or anything else like that. But I mean, I almost knocked this person out of their chair. And they were like, "Oh yeah, we come up with this ticket and we just put it out there and everybody votes red and they call it a golden, whatever it is, like a golden ticket or whatever it is."
Yeah, I've seen that.
And I asked them a very simple question. I was like, "Well, that's good. It's good to organize, but what are you doing for those votes? What are you doing for those votes?" And it was like literally, it was the whole, like with the whole feet kicked out in the chair kind of thing. Like what are you doing for those votes? You're just taking people for granted.
Yeah.
That's what you're doing.
Networking is about the extent of it a lot of the time.
Yeah. Well, I think it should be a lot more than network and maybe get in some of those living rooms and really hear their problems, right?
Yeah, right. Number 6, we got focusing on retention. We talked a little bit about that. Developing a new recruitment strategy aimed at attracting and retaining high-quality law enforcement deputies. So how would you recruit new high-quality people and ensure that they are people of integrity?
Okay. Well, first you'd have to be a person of integrity, right? That's the common sense answer.
In order to recognize others?
In order to have people come and want to work for your agency.
I see.
Right? So say I'm a criminal and you're a cop. You think you're gonna? What do you think you're? If you're transferring or latering over,
I'm gonna think you don't have my back at the end of the day.
That's what you should think. Right? That's what you should think. And that's currently where we're at.
Damn.
Right? I mean, that's just facts. I'm not.
Yeah,
I'm like I said, I'm not here to bash people, but the thing is, that's just facts. So the first part of that whole retention and hiring better officers is being that example. Can you be that example? Then that filters down to everybody else, right? Because they feel safe being themselves. They can speak out. Everybody has a voice, right? You might make the decisions, but everybody has a voice, right? Coming into an agency like that, that's something you want to be a part of. You see them boys on TV out there, they're doing their damn thing in Yavapai County. They're very hard on crime, and they love it. I'm trying to brand this term, but not really, but it's called elite servitude. To where when you come to work, your main goal is a servant. You work for them, right? Now, I'm not talking about when you go to calls with the dirtbag that's beating his wife. I'm not talking about being that guy, like the dude, like you got business to handle, right? And we could talk about it afterwards.
Well, in that business, you're being a servant to the people around
exactly.
them.
Yeah, but I'm saying there's two different sides to it. There's that heavy hand, and then there's that, soft hand.
It's the lion and the lamb.
Yeah, exactly. Which I'm not comparing myself to that at all, but I think that there's a lot of things that we can learn from that, I used to make this joke. When I was in the military, you look at all these other branches and all these other militaries, and I used to always talk about Israel, and I loved it. Right? Because war is ugly. War is going to be war. I don't think people understand that. But Israel, like I used to always brag about them because I was like, hey, everybody has to enlist. What would this country look like if everybody had to enlist in the military?
Less fat people.
Yeah. No.
No.
Nope. I just saw my best friend. He was stationed with me, and he put on a little weight. So I don't think you'd have less fat people. I mean, I love the guy.
Maybe less complacency.
No, you'd have more ownership. Have more ownership. Everybody would have a set of values. They would know what it is to protect their country. They would know what these things are, and you would maintain this ownership of your community, of what it should look like, right? You're not going to put up with the guy down the street. You know why? Because you have the training to deal with that, and so does the guy next to you, and so does the guy next to you.
Yeah.
And the thing is that though it's not Israel, like this is a free country. Yeah. So imagine Americans like that, and the dirtbag down the streets has a problem. Oh, dude, it's a problem.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, giving them avenues to take care of that. But I used to brag about it. I was like, you take out one Israeli soldier, they take out a whole block.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if I have one fentanyl death here, it's going to be a problem.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to chase you to the ends of the earth.
Good. Having a prepared citizenry means you have to call the cops a lot less.
Yeah. You do. Everything gets handled internally like it should be.
Yep, exactly. All right, what do we got here? We got number 7, which I think is the last one of the points that I found, to improve active shooter response for law enforcement, ensuring the safety of our schools and community. So what's the current status of that? You got SWAT?
I think that the current status is everybody's really trying to do that right now. We have a lot of private companies that are ex-law enforcement trying to do that, going around to the churches, schools, things like that. There's actual systems in place. I don't know if the Yavapai County is doing it yet, but I know they're trying to be a part of it to where the it's a system within the school like itself, right?
Yep.
But I mean, we'll just talk about the most simplest way to do it, and then you can just elaborate if you want on all the cool stuff you can do.
Yeah.
Right. Say I go down there, I grab a deputy, and I take him to Prescott High School, and I say, hey, draw me the inside of the high school. Unless the kid goes there, you think you know what that look like? How about let's start there.
Yeah.
Right?
That's
and then
clever.
we could do all the cool stuff, all the saving the kids, putting our boot up their ass, that kind of thing, right?
Yeah.
But let's start there. You should know in the area that you work with inside the schools look like.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm not saying you should know what every school looks like.
Mm-hmm.
What I'm just saying is like I'm a very simpleton. They say it's simple-minded guys or whatever, but I'm that guy.
Mm-hmm.
Very common sense approach. Let's just start with walking inside. Right? And then doing that, and then give them the tools and tasks. And there's different kind of technologies out there that help with, police response and things like that. You should look at Ashfork High School. You go in that principal's office, he has a damn gun safe in there. Like, that boy's ready for anything. You're not getting out of school for anything.
Excellent.
Those are my people.
Right
Those
on.
are my people out there, my Ashtopians.
So then, having a basic foundation of the layout
Right.
that's just one way to improve the response time if
Right.
there's an active shooter situation.
Right.
That's great.
Yeah, it's simple ideas.
Yeah.
And it's just, let's start somewhere.
Yeah,
right?
I didn't even think of that.
Start somewhere.
Cool. Let's see. We got. This is one thing I read. I don't know if it's something you said or a position that you take or whatever, but I like it. It's about enhancing accountability measures to ensure that all individuals in positions of power, including politicians and judges, community stakeholders, are held to the highest standards of conduct.
Right.
So.
And that comes to how we're running our campaign. That also comes to exactly how I envision the sheriff's office being. I envision the sheriff's office, if these guys are out there doing things they're not supposed to be doing. Apparently, we have a drinking problem here in Yavapai County.
I've noticed.
But I mean, some people had a little bit more courage than others actually stepped down. So it's holding them accountable. It's building relationships with these judges. It's building relationships with these lawyers, right? I had a deputy that I greatly respect. I won't say her name because I don't know if she wants to be on podcast, but I mean, she got assaulted. You know what I mean? That judge, that guy goes to jail. That judge, she's out within 12 hours. And then she's like tried to choke her mom to death within like the 10 hours of her getting out. So it's to hold people accountable, you got to let them know where you stand.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? You got to let them know where you stand. If you let somebody out that hurts one of my deputies, we're going to have a conversation. We're going to have a conversation about how you're running your operation. Me and the community are going to talk about it on Friday, right? And it's like, that's holding people accountable. Why is this organization doing that? That's a great question. I'll ask them.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's when you bring that community in, it's not all about the sheriff's office. Like they probably don't even want to talk about cop stuff, right? They want to talk about what's happening in their town councils. They want to talk about how they're being affected on a personal level. They want to talk about taxes. They want to talk about, and as a sheriff, you have access to all these people, right? And when you start saying people's names and you start talking about people in a public way, like in press conferences, for example, it can go one of two ways. It can go, we're doing this, we're working together, everything's going great, we've developed this plan, thank the community for bringing this to our eyes, and we're constantly working on other things. Or it could be like Judge such and such let such and such out that assaulted a law enforcement officer, and then she went and assaulted her mother. Maybe somebody should give him a phone call. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Maybe somebody should email that man.
Yeah.
And let him know what honor is. Mm-hmm. So
excellent.
That's holding people accountable.
Cool. Thank you. Are there any people that are in positions of power or the aforementioned stuff that have been compromised in some way, whether it is being like they've committed a crime or they're part of corruption? If you can share, that'd be cool. If not, I understand.
I guess what I will share is this, and I'm not scared to share anything. I'm just trying to figure out the best ways to put it, because again, I don't want this platform to be used to it's about setting an example, and I don't want people after me. And I know you wouldn't because this is your jam, but I don't want to be like that guy that, oh, he started this ball rolling and people talking crap about each other.
Well, hey, for anybody listening, I'm asking the questions, and the people deserve to know if there are people in power that are corrupt.
Well,
so that's why I ask.
I'll say this: it's weird that most of these, these town councils or city councils, the whole real estate thing. It's weird that it ties into all the building in Prescott Valley and Prescott, right?
Yeah.
It's weird that you have people running organizations that commit crimes that they don't get in trouble for, right? It's a lot of it's weird. It's weird that we don't talk to our judges, let them know where we stand. So I wouldn't say it's corrupt, but I would say that there's something definitely going on.
The buddy system or something?
Yeah, I mean, you call it the good old boy system, you call it the buddy system, you call it whatever you want.
Yeah.
But the thing is that the people have the same questions. They really do. And it's, if you're going out there and getting an answer, it's hey, Andy did this weekend. Say it's Friday, right? Say it's presser day, right? Hey, we heard Andy did this, and this. Well, I'll go talk to Andy about it. Mm-hmm. I think Andy's a good guy. I think that probably wasn't his intention. Maybe there's more context to what's going on, right?
Yeah.
And you find out, well, no, Andy's actually a dirtbag, guys. And this is what's going on, right? It's just being honest with the community.
Yeah.
And the thing is that it's the people are what matter to me. I do want to build partnerships. I'm not running for Congress. I'm not running for anything. I'm not doing any of that jazz, right? I just want to be a cop.
Yeah.
Right? I just want to take care of people, right? But the thing is that in order to do that, there has to be somebody out there that's honest. There has to be somebody that put their neck out on the line.
Yeah.
And the thing is that if other politicians don't like me, that's not why I'm getting into this. Like, I'm not even a politician, but it's a political position. But I'm learning, right? Yeah. But the thing is that you can't. The people deserve better. And if it takes somebody out there to go ruffle some feathers or shake that chicken around a little bit, I'll definitely be that guy.
Excellent.
Yeah.
What would you say is the ratio of like the role of sheriff? What's the ratio of it being political to being a law enforcement position versus just management of deputies?
I think it's probably split into that pie. Just
pretty equally.
Yeah, but I would say that just as from what I'm learning, I've never been sheriff before. But from what I'm learning, it does have to do with a lot of legislative things going on there, with laws and supporting good laws and protesting bad ones, right? But I think that it's how you spend your time.
Yeah,
you can decide. A human being, it doesn't matter what position you're in, right? You can decide how you're going to spend your time. Yeah. Like, say, Biden's on vacation all the time, right? So if the president could do it, a sheriff could do it.
Yeah.
Right? So if what's important to you, right, and as you're hitting these different topics, if community's important to you, you're going to spend a little bit more time in the community. Do that community, they say, hey, we got all these dumb laws, they're breaking our constitutional rights, they're doing this and that. And then now you're moving down to the legislature, right? At the same time, you're backing the guys on the street. You know why? Because you're present. You make some things mandatory for yourself, like being out on the road, taking paper, actually arresting people. You know what I mean?
Sheriffs are able to do that?
Yeah. Yeah.
I would not have guessed.
Yeah,
I mean, not that they're incapable, because obviously they're a law enforcement officer.
But you have a lot of other stuff going. You have a lot of other stuff going on. But the thing is that if you make it mandatory for yourself to get out there, I'm supposed to certify just like the next cop.
Yeah.
Right. And if I'm the top cop in the county, well, I mean, you go out there and you exercise your duties.
You set the standard.
Yeah, you set a standard. Right?
Cool.
And I think that get that ball rolling, push that snowball down the hill, however they say it.
Now, I noticed that you don't have much of a social media presence.
I don't.
Do you think that that's going to hinder you in the process of campaigning?
No.
Cool.
I don't want to be on any of those platforms, really.
Good.
I'm on Facebook right now because I need something, right? And that's just to put out what I'm doing. We're making a lot of, from what we've been doing and the people that we've sent out to go research and stuff like that, we probably have about 90% of law enforcement vote right now and the first responder vote.
Excellent.
We're starting in living rooms. We're starting in people's homes. We're starting with small meetings. I just met with this gentleman from Chino. Now we got a whole road now. So it's just I know that these sponsorships and all those kind of things, they mean something, right? It means that somebody's going to see somebody's name driving down the street on a billboard and they say, hey, I like that guy, so I'm going to vote because that way, this and that. And I want to tell anybody out there, any committee, any group, or anything else like that, I appreciate everybody's support. And spreading the word for, what our cause is and how we're trying to make this a better county, putting Yavapai first would be great. But on my campaign posters, it's going to say, sponsored by the people of Yavapai County, and that's all it's going to say.
Perfect.
I don't want it's whatever name you associate yourself with. Yeah. It's not free, right? They're taking a little piece of you. They want a little bit of piece of you.
That's right. So then you don't have any kind of major donors or anything.
No, it's just people.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's just people that that I meet. We're self-funded. At this point, we've had people donate monies and things like that. But the thing is that it's would I like all that? It's like I don't know. I mean, what do you get for what access are you giving them, right?
Right.
And if your name, if Andy's on my billboard and you got an audience and you got a platform, right? I might be scared to actually hold you accountable, like I said I was going to do, right?
Yeah.
Because then I'll lose that, right?
Right. Because I paid for a larger portion of your campaign than the next guy. And therefore, you maybe owe me, but it's unspoken.
It's like, and it's like, the sheriff's office is going to be its own entity. It's not going to be held by any of these committees or organizations or things like that. We're not going to be anybody's lapdog. Right on. And in order to make a difference, you really can't be.
Cool. You said you were studying the finances,
I'm just getting into that right now.
Do you have any experience in financial decision making or anything like that?
Yeah, I run 2 companies. I have a production services company, and we have a reselling business, and both of them do really well. Cool. Also, when I was on the road and building those things, I mean, you're talking about $4 million, $16 million budgets that I had to account for. Okay. You're talking about supplies you need to order, people that need to be hired. Yeah. It doesn't run itself. I wasn't holding the shovel. Right. When I say my guys, I mean it's my job. Okay. To make sure that we order supplies and things like that. I'm a very business minded individual, and I think if we run it a little bit more like a business instead of a friendship, it'll be a little bit better.
Cool. Good. I mean, you kind of already answered this, but I'll ask it directly since I have it down here. What is the role of a sheriff?
I'll say it again. The role of a sheriff for any community is being the tip of the spear. Cool. Just being that line in the background.
And what does public service mean to you?
Sacrifice. It means that I'm going to sacrifice, and I'm doing it now, but I'm going to sacrifice time with my family to make sure your family's safe. Mm-hmm. I'm going to sacrifice my own ideas to take in your ideas and what makes things better. I'm going to sacrifice time with my family to protect your constitutional rights. I'm going to sacrifice my whole being. I'm a servant. Yeah. That's what God created me to be, and that's what I'm going to be. Yeah. And the thing is that takes a lot of sacrifice. That's the role of a sheriff. Excellent. That's what should be happening. I'm sorry you don't get no sleep, but that's the way it is.
I understand. Where is Yavapai County Sheriff's Office currently succeeding the most? What are they the best at right now?
If I were to I would say training. I think that the training department is awesome. I think that's how we stay alive. We don't have 6-7 cars showing up. Where I worked at, if you ran code, which means with your lights and all that stuff going on, some places would take you an hour and a half to get to me. And it's just me. Talk about safety, like it's there's so many changes we can make, but that would be it. It's training. I had to give a big thumbs up to the raises, but it also took a lot of deputies trying to leave and an internal rebellion, to get that done. But the board supervisor plays a role with that as well. So the thing is that utilizing those relationships with the board of supervisors, where it's not a gimme. Like, I need some more tax money. I need all this. I need all that. It's actually going outside, finding other ways to finance things, grants, and stuff like that.
Now, I know that some companies have a policy where, here's your dollar allotment for the year. Mm-hmm. If you don't spend this amount, then it goes toward your bonus. Does Yavapai County do anything like that you know of?
From what I'm seeing in the financials, I don't think so.
Okay.
If they do, you'll know about it on one of
Yeah.
those pressers.
Like, oh, we're gonna cut
Yeah,
corners on
yeah.
cut corners on training, so
I
I
don't
can
really
get that
think that's a thing. Like
second
it would be
house.
hard to convince me that that's a thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't think that's
Cool.
a thing at all.
What is justice?
Justice is a word created by God, by Yahweh. My God, I'm a Christian. Justice means that when something happens, there's that equal and opposite reaction of it, right? Mm-hmm. Justice is loving. Justice is it's powerful. It's meant to protect. It's to protect ideas, people's hearts and minds. That's what justice is. Justice is going out there and going after these. Got to watch my language, but going after these guys.
Hey, we got the First Amendment here too. You could say whatever.
Well, I don't know
if
there's any kids listening to, but
I appreciate that.
Yeah, but it's going after these scumbags, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's going after. Is justice usually what I'm starting to see right now has these lines, right? And we call them jurisdictions, right? Or we call them whatever state lines. You call them whatever you want.
Mm-hmm.
Justice is when someone's done wrong, that the sheriff's office is going to chase them down. Mm-hmm. Right. I don't care if they go to Hawaii. I don't care if they go to Germany. We'll figure something out. But we're going to get them. Right. It's knowing that you have that protection.
Truly, that's a thing. If they go to a different place, like out of the country or out of the state.
So say for example, you'll see. I mean, any cop could relate to this. But you pull somebody over, they have warrants in a different state, right?
Yeah.
And it says non extraditable. That's what they'll say. And I just make it simple. The city that warrant's out of would rather leave that criminal there than extradite him. Because that's what it is, right? Mm-hmm. They don't think, and I've seen stuff, felony warrants, I've seen a bunch of things like that. But if we know where the bad guy is, you don't have to, it's not going to be a deputy running around San Francisco, right? But it could be a San Francisco cop that picks him up. You know what I mean? I don't care. We'll extradite you. We'll take the criminals from you.
And does it cost the agency money to extradite that person?
It does.
So YCSO would be paying for them to be brought back here in order to convict them or whatever?
Right. Yeah, okay. Exactly. And I think that the sheriff's office does. That's another good thing that they do is they do a very good job of that. If you do have a warrant out of Yavapai County, they usually extradite no matter what.
Cool.
So nothing would change with that.
Do you believe that all laws are just?
No, I do not believe all laws are just. I think that a nation with less laws is actually better. I think taking government out of, get their little fingers out of everything. They're supposed to be their support system, right? Because they get all these. I mean, you pay taxes, right?
I'm just kidding. Yeah,
but I mean, most people pay taxes. And
yeah.
The thing is, you guys are supposed to be their support system, not trying to meddle in, in people's lives and things like that. So, I think that less laws are better, actually.
Cool. And how do you feel about the no victim, no crime mindset, the libertarian kind of concept?
I had a SWAT commander tell me this one time, and I tell new people that come onto the job, nobody wants to be a victim, right? Just because I never got that, no victim, no crime. It's probably because I'm a father. Mm-hmm. So if you take prostitution, for example, right? You have this prostitute. She's not a victim because the guy's paying for it, and then that, right? So there's no crime.
Assuming it's voluntary on her part.
Assuming it's voluntary on her part, right? So it has to be a lot of things, right? So she has her own business, She has her own LLC doing this, you know what I mean?
Thai massage.
Yeah, probably was. Yeah, great, right? The extra massage detail on the menu or whatever. But the thing is that I'm a father.
Yeah.
And I know that what's happening to her is not okay by me. And would I consider that a crime? Do I consider my daughter a victim? Yeah, even though she's willingly doing it, right? So I don't come from the whole libertarian side. I'm very conservative side of it. If I don't even know how that would I don't even know how to answer that question. Okay. To be honest with you, in my headspace.
I guess I'll give you an example that I already have my own answer to, which is probably similar to yours. So a DUI. So somebody goes to drink at the bar, they drive home, they're more
It's
than
funny you bring that
0.08.
up right now.
They're more than 0.08, but they make it home. So
Right.
if they get pulled over, they haven't hit anybody yet.
Okay.
So
So I'll get flack for this, but since you're pinning me in the corner,
sorry.
awesome. Since you're pinning me in a corner, I'll get flack for this. This will probably be the most controversial thing that I ever say.
Oh, we haven't gotten to the other pages
Oh,
yet.
we haven't yet? Okay. All right. So there's a letter of the law and a spirit of the law. Okay. Say on the DUI part, you go out to a restaurant. You have a couple drinks with your family, right? So you had a beer at Buffalo Wild Wings, right, while you're taking your son out, and you drive home, right? Is that a crime? Yeah, it's a crime, right? That's the letter of the law. Spirit of the law is that the officer probably is not even going to know you're intoxicated, right? And even if he did, and you're driving fine, it's not why he pulled you over. I can't say what all cops will do. Cops will do different things. But it's a lot different situation when you have somebody that, when you say, because of your actions, something terrible is going to happen, right? That kind of goes back to sounds like some red flag law shit to me, right? Like It kind of sounds like that. I think something bad is going to happen, so I'm going to make a phone call and take this man's rights away.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's not cool.
Yeah.
So, I'm trying to find a way to say this because I know it'll be used against me. But I think that if you, that's a good question, sir. That's a good question. I think I don't think in this what's the way to say it? This super negative at the end of the world kind of thing. If a guy has a beer and then goes home, yeah, he's breaking the law.
Yeah.
But it's not my main focus, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, Mad. I don't mean to
So,
do that.
yeah.
But it's not my main focus. The guy that's banging into cars, the guy that, is running over people, the guy that's causing accidents, that's creating damage, that's doing all these different things, that can't stay within the lines, that a regular citizen can be like, hey, that guy's drunk.
Right.
Right? Those are my priorities.
For sure.
Right? I'm not saying that, there's law that you shouldn't enforce.
Yeah.
And I know I'm dancing around this because I have to, but it's
Well, there's higher priority things.
there's higher priority things, of course, right?
Violence, things
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. Well, it's higher priority based upon common sense, like really, right? And that's what policing is common sense.
Yeah.
I've been around guys that pulled somebody over before. And, the guy had a beer or something like that. He pulled him over for speeding or something. Good dad, they just came back from a restaurant. He's just trying to get home, took his family out to dinner. I mean, I don't know, as a citizen, do you think that we should tow his car and report his kids to CPS? And
No, I don't
do
think
all
so.
that kind of thing?
I
Well, say that same dad was hitting curbs and driving over lines and aggressive driving. And he had that one beer still, right? And he was doing all that kind of jazz. And you pull him over. It's probably a different outcome, right? Because he's a danger.
Yeah.
Right? He's a danger to the community. So I kind of look at it like that. I would take it situation by situation. But,
For sure. Cool. Well, that's good. Thank you.
Yeah. I hope that answered. I know that was a lot of dancing. I'm not
No,
good at dancing, but
I understand. That makes perfect sense. That's something you brought up, the letter of the law versus the spirit of the law.
Yeah.
I think that's super important, and hadn't thought of that. And my own personal belief is like, if the guy's driving okay, whatever. If the dude's swerving,
well,
maybe
the thing
call
is
him a ride.
that it's we're not God, right? So you don't know what's going on in that guy's car anyways. The only interaction that we're going to have is chances are you did something you weren't supposed to do.
Exactly.
Right? And it probably, could that drinking have led to that? 100% it could.
Yeah.
Right.
So, let's use a different example. Sorry.
No, let's go, man.
But
Give it to me.
let's say you got, let's say you have a suppressor in your car, and you get pulled over for whatever, not using your turn signal, something stupid.
A suppressor?
A suppressor, like a silencer, and you don't have paperwork on it. You're not using it. You're not doing anything wrong. Whether it's legal or not, how would you approach that as a deputy? That might be
Well, I mean, there's a couple of things. One is, how do you know that the weapon even has a suppressor on it unless the guy gives it to you? You
It's
ask for
sitting
it.
on the passenger
It's sitting
seat.
on the passenger seat. And me, honestly, and has happened. I walk up and I said, "Dude, that's a beautiful handgun you got right there, man." You know. And then you take a step back and just thank God you're still in America and there's some free places left.
Right on.
And then send them on their way.
Excellent. Okay. So now I kind of understand your position on red flag laws, and also based on what you said earlier, I understand how you feel about inalienable rights.
Right.
Now, whether or not it's written down, we still have the right to defend ourselves, to say how we feel,
Yes.
etc.
Yes.
So, what about something like COVID-style mandates? Like, what would your level of enforcement be?
There wouldn't be enforcement. I'm not going to let the government come into Yavapai County and tell us to do anything. It's just not that way, and I have the power and the position to do it. I'm not trying to be a rogue sheriff. I want to work together. I want to play nice with all the kids in the sandbox.
Yeah.
But the thing is that unless there's some kind of, I mean, it's not a pandemic. Pandemics have bodies piled up on street corners, right?
Yeah.
It's approaching it in a common sense kind of way where it's if people are sick, you got a cold. You know, it's like, I get it, man. Death sucks. And I know I know that sounds bad, but when you get the flu, it's the same thing. It kills people, right? You get in your car, it kills people, right? There's those kind of things. And it's like telling citizens what they could do and what they can't do because you think is beneficial for them, you're stepping on their freedoms.
Mm-hmm.
You know, just because somebody's sick outside, you're telling me that I can't, go to a grocery store, I can't,
Yeah.
my kid can't learn.
Yeah.
I mean, like, go to school, like, I can go on and on about. I can go on.
They
and
were
on
trying
about
to
COVID.
shut down like small businesses, make sure that they stayed closed or whatever during that time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the county was asked to enforce that. I'm not totally sure because I wasn't here during that time, but
I was here during that time,
uh-huh.
and I didn't see any deputy enforcing anything like that.
Okay.
A lot of people who work for sheriff's officers choose to work for a sheriff's office because we're at heart constitutionalists.
Cool.
So I didn't see anything like that.
Good, man. Good. Let's see what we got here. All right, so let's go to some rumors. Like, there's probably people out there that don't want you to succeed.
Okay.
What are they gonna say about you, and is it true or not?
I don't know. I don't know what they're gonna say about me. There ain't no skeletons in my closet.
Okay, that's basically what I'm asking.
There's not. I know the social media thing. I never really believed in it. So
Yeah.
it's like I don't like personal, private business. I mean, you can do what you want with your life, but I don't want my kids blasted all over the internet, and I'm not
Right.
that dude, man.
Yeah.
And I had to figure out how to use Facebook just to. I'm 42, and that can.
Yeah,
use
yeah.
Facebook.
It's brand new,
So,
right?
Yeah, I'm way brand new.
That's funny.
And like even now, it's like when I post something, it takes me like 2 hours because it's like, do I hit the right button or do I hit this? You know what I
did
mean?
it show
So,
up?
Yeah, there's no skeletons in my closet. I mean,
Cool.
like anybody else, had a couple divorces, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I can't think of anything.
Cool.
Yeah.
What's a lesson that you learned in your life after screwing something up?
One, don't do it again. The two, how did your actions reflect on your family?
So the consequences of what you did, how it affected others.
How it affected others, because you're last, right? You're the one that made the mistake, right? You can have people that sit there and pat you on the back and everything's okay, so you feel better about yourself. But I mean, I've made some mistakes where you just feel horrible. You feel bad for your family or what it did to other people. I think that's
This next section is called the shit hits the fan social climate.
social climate.
Yeah. Oh,
Okay, you put okay.
like what we were talking
I see what
about
you're
earlier
saying.
with the
All right, give it to me.
the woke stuff.
Let's rapid fire this stuff.
All right. So, how do you feel about an armed, prepared citizenry? You already answered that.
Yep,
You
I think
it's
everybody should be armed.
Good.
I think all the teachers in the school should be armed.
excellent?
I think that you should be able to take your weapons into government buildings. I think that any place that has a gun-free zone is a death trap.
Yeah. How do you feel about YCSO hosting or facilitating training for the public, whether they're actually doing the training or bringing
I
somebody
don't know if
in?
they're doing that right now or not. I know Prescott does a lot of that. Prescott Valley does a lot of that.
Okay.
I think that's probably because they want to be part of their communities. But it's I think that would be awesome.
Cool.
Like, I mean, that would be awesome. I mean, you have to. I can see how you'd block that. And the thing is speaking again to the training staff for the sheriff's office. That you want to talk about a great group of amazing, talented, strong-willed men.
Can I guess?
It's huh?
Yavapai preparedness group. Is that who you're talking
No,
about?
I'm talking about the actual deputies that are doing the training. In order, if you put them, I mean, if you put them in positions to where they can actually help the community, I think that as long as they're not working an additional 20 hours a week doing it,
Right.
you actually let them do that in their work time. I think they would love it. I think they would love it.
Good. What's the current biggest external threat facing Yavapai County? Like cartels, China, supply chains,
The biggest threat facing Yavapai County is drugs.
drugs.
I think I think it's the drugs. I really got my eyes set on those guys, and I'm coming up with a lot of different ideas that I want to bounce off people. But
Cool.
it's just the drugs, man. You see that in any community. You go to Ohio, and you have these traditional great communities, and it's with you ever watch the Gremlins, the movie?
Yeah.
Where you sprinkle water on that little gizmo and then
Yep.
all the little things start popping out.
Oh, yeah.
That's what meth and fentanyl does to the community.
Okay.
It just destroys it. And the thing is, can you do it 100% of the time, never make a mistake? No. But you can make it, like they said, the DEA said that Yavapai County is the opioid epicenter of the state. Yeah, look, pull up on your phone, you can look at it.
Damn.
Right? So Yavapai County is.
Wow.
And some people were telling me, they're like, well, it's the cartels. It's the rehab houses. It's this and that. And I go, no, that's not it. And shout out to all my dope guys, right? Give a shout out to them because they're busting their butts every single day.
Thanks, guys.
I think they just need some more resources, right? But the reason why it's like that is because it's easier to sell drugs here. If I was a drug dealer, this is where I want to be at, and I think that's a problem, right?
Yeah.
And you don't become an epicenter of anything drug related by accident. Like it just didn't happen. Like someone slipped, fell, and fentanyl just ran all over the freeway in Yavapai County. Now we got this issue, right?
Yeah.
It's not like that. It's not taking care of the problem, not biting it in the butt, not going after these guys. Like it's this thing, right? And working with other agencies, right? That's the foundation. That someone said, "What is your vision like when you see the sheriff's office and this and that, and all the cops and like all this?" I was like, my vision is, wouldn't it be freaking cool, like to see a Prescott Valley police car in Cordish Lakes? Like, wouldn't that be cool? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, imagine if you're like a drug dealer, right? And it's one of the people that they're chasing. Imagine you're a drug dealer, you're like, holy shit, man, all these cops are working together?
Mm-hmm.
What jurisdiction? No lines, no nothing.
Yeah.
Let's go get these boys. Like we have the authority to do so.
Yeah.
And we have every right to keep this community safe. It's like, yeah, there's jurisdictional lines. It has to do with insurance and money and finance and stuff like that. But
So with these things like the family-friendly drag shows and that kind of garbage, which is
they're not family-friendly.
I agree. There's something like that scheduled in Prescott on February 10th, and my question is, how do we stop that stuff from happening? Where's the line where it's child abuse and can be convicted upon?
If there's children there, it's child abuse.
Okay.
It's pornography.
Okay,
right?
so
Like
that's convictable. We can actually act on that.
I would have to. Well, then you run into the free speech thing too, right? You're running into people's constitutional rights. So the whole that's how they did this thing. That's how they did this whole socialist communism problem that we're having now. What they did was they used their own constitution and then figured out ways to get around it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So say I'm a business owner and I want to have, which I don't, but I want to have one of those shows, right?
Right.
And it's my business. Can you tell me what I do in my business?
I don't think so.
No, I don't. Now, if my business is harming children, do you think you could tell me what you're doing in my business?
Yeah.
100%. And if there's a law, I'll find it.
Yeah. Okay. And are there laws against manipulating children's minds or brainwashing? Are there laws that exist
No,
regarding those things?
no, I think
It's a free for all, right?
yeah. Well, I mean, you see it from the current administration, our presidents and things like that. I think
Yeah.
that's kind of what people specialize in now with all the TikToks and all that kind of jazz, right?
Yeah.
I don't have TikTok, but
Good. Thank you.
But some people.
If you did, we'd have a problem. All right. So you joined the military knowing full well that you might die for your country.
Yeah.
You've been in public service, willing to put yourself in between people of violence and people that are victims. So
Yes,
in the way of harm, essentially, you obviously care about the Constitution. You care about the public and the people. My question is, to what end will you stand for the people? Or is there a situation you can think of where you would forfeit for the people?
Death. I think that's what every law enforcement officer and every soldier. I think that's the limit.
Yeah.
Cool. It's. I hate when the public says that's what you signed up for, because they have no idea the kind of things that are seen, and how that affects you and how it affects your family. Mm-hmm. But from a cop to another cop, yeah, that's our job. That's what we signed up for.
Right on. What is an example of a domestic enemy? Because you took the oath in the military.
Yeah, example of a domestic enemy. I can give you a bunch of examples. I mean, a domestic enemy is a council member that allows a foreign government to buy land in their county. A domestic enemy.
Is that happening here?
Yeah, well, in Yavapai County?
Yep.
I hope not. Not that I know of.
Okay.
Foreign? No, not that I know of.
Okay.
But it's anybody that wants to erode another individual's rights. That's what it is, to be honest with you, man. That's the foundation. That's the basis for it. We can get into specific examples if you have one.
Yeah, do you have any people that you have in mind that are domestic enemies, whether it's in Yavapai County or just the state of Arizona?
You say in the state of Arizona? Well, there's a lot.
Yeah.
There's a lot. And I think a lot of the politicians would fall very close, if not skip over that line, right?
Yep.
If the laws and policies that you're creating don't benefit, right? So you got to think about that. That's a huge word. I know it's basic, third grade, right? Benefit. Mm-hmm. So if you're creating something, if it doesn't benefit people, right, to be more free, because that's what we are, and it's to suppress, you are a domestic enemy, right? You're an enemy of the Constitution. There's so many different examples. I could just rattle them off, but it's so many examples that, and that's what I don't want to see happen to this county. I was talking to somebody, just with the current administration, the sheriff's office, and I'm not talking about the entire sheriff's office as a whole. I mean, the guys know I love them, and I would do anything for them. But just the current leader, right? If I was, just say for example, if I was this billionaire in this liberal city that gives all my money to these political causes to go wreck counties, right? Where does he start at? He starts at the lower councilmen and things like that, right?
Yeah, the people.
How easy pickings would it be to actually go up against a criminal, right? Like, they're convicted, and we're not talking about like a Trump, right? He didn't do nothing. Mm-hmm. Not like it's not the same.
Yeah.
Like, you're actually convicted of these things. How hard would it be to plant a little Democrat guy in here, give him all this money, and just rip apart this county with? You have nothing to stand on.
It happens all the time.
Yeah. Well, it would be really easy under the current thing, and it's the weirdest thing is that I run into fellow conservatives, and they're like, "Oh, it's okay," and it's like, "Well, what's not okay? Like, what's not okay to you?"
Yeah, where's that line?
Well, the what it is that they get something from it, right? You're getting something from it, and I think it's just unfortunate.
Yeah.
But I think that that's the way the culture is. The common sense ain't so common, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an unfortunate part of human nature. Just got a couple more here for you. We can't trust the voting. We can't trust the people in power. We're not sure we can even vote them out of power. So how do we as a people exercise justice upon these domestic enemies that are preventing the system from functioning?
So let's start with the first one. That's a multi-layered question.
Yeah, sorry.
So now go ahead. Let's start with the first one. What you said?
Well, just saying that we can't trust the people in power. We can't trust that our votes are even able to vote those people out of power.
Mm-hmm.
What do we do?
Um, I think the people, it's turning into what I see, right? It turned into this finger pointing thing with the Republican Party. It started with like some rhino concept.
Yeah.
I got called a rhino like by somebody in one of these organizations. I was like, did you have to do something to be one of those?
They probably didn't talk to you for very
Yeah,
long.
they said I was from California too. It was great, and it's like, hey, you guys are a bunch of idiots. But anyways. But anyways, the thing is that it has to be a public showing.
Yeah.
Right. You have to. I can only look at it through the lens of what I would do. Right. I can't tell you what's the cure, fix all,
right.
and things like that. But say if you did have a domestic enemy, right? And what I do is I do want to start a committee with the different people of the different areas, different towns and cities and stuff like that, so that when I do go down to the legislation and they can actually witness these things instead of getting off your keyboards, right? Like, let's get off your computer, talking all this jazz, right? And let's go down there and see exactly what happens, right? Taking these people along with me. And the thing is that if those are the people that you're affecting, the most I can do, and I'm going to try the most I can do, is just support you. Just stand beside you, to fight with you.
Mm-hmm.
And everything is within my power to do so. I think, it's the way it's always been is like one of my most disliked phrases. And that's exactly what's happening right now. It's the way it's always been.
What phrase is that?
The way it's always been.
Oh.
Yeah. So when people say, oh, it's the way it's always been.
Yeah.
Why don't you change it?
Yeah.
Right? And the first thing that you can do is you can get like-minded individuals together, right? And you have a politician at your disposal because you know he loves you. He'd die for you.
Yeah.
He's going to go down there with you. We're going to cause some problems. We're going to go out there and let them know what we think. And I don't know if that's going to get them voted out or anything, but, I mean, we could do something about it.
Yeah.
Doing nothing is...
At the very least, we can contain our own local region.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah, Yavapai first.
Cool. This quote comes from a letter that Thomas Jefferson wrote to William Stephen Smith in 1787 about something called Shays' Rebellion in Massachusetts. And he said, what country before ever existed a century and a half without a rebellion? And what country can preserve its liberties if their rulers are not warned from time to time that their people preserve the spirit of resistance? Let them take arms. The remedy is to set them right as to facts, to pardon and pacify them. What signify a few lives lost in a century or two? The tree of liberty must be refreshed from time to time with the blood of patriots and tyrants. It is its natural manure. And I think that's extremely important, the reminding the people in positions of power that they were placed there by us and that they are public servants.
And you're right. They are public servants, but I mean, somebody has to be one, right? And the thing is that when you embody that, when that's what you're about, I think it's a benefit to everybody. I understand what he was writing back then, but like in now, I couldn't even trust either side with that.
Mm-hmm.
To be honest with you, right? You look at all this social media garbage and people just spewing all these things, and I wish these cops would come to I mean, these are the same conservative Republicans. I wish they would come over and was going to just shoot all of them. Like, no, you're not. Like, let's knock it off. No, you're not. When he wrote that, we still had horses and muskets. Like, we got all kind of cool stuff now, right?
Yeah.
And you're threatening a man's family, and you're threatening a man, right? And where I grew up, we got a problem. We're going to do something about it, right? Mm-hmm. But I think that it comes back to the accountability. It comes back to having, if a regular citizen, and I know this sounds like whatever. If I had a problem, right? We'll say this. If I had a problem, and I had a problem with a law, or I had a problem with this corrupt politician, or I had a problem with whatever, right? And I went out there and I was like, hey guys, I got a problem. Right? I'm on my socials. I'm doing all my little social things. I'm writing in the newspaper. I can't stand social media. Sorry.
Yeah,
so I don't have any of
that's good.
But you're doing all this stuff like that. It's like, oh, okay, who's this guy yelling on the street corner? Is he high? Like, what's going on? Well, say there's 15 of me. Say there's 50 of me. Say there's 100 with the sheriff standing behind us. letting you know that you're breaking these people's constitutional rights, that you're doing these things to the people, and we just won't tolerate it. It's not going to happen in our county first, right? We have to set an example for the state. And I think we can do that through, like I said, transparency and communication. I don't think it's as hard as people make it seem.
Yeah.
I really don't.
I agree.
And I think a lot of people have better and greater ideas than I can ever come up with. God didn't make me an idealist. He made me a leader.
Yeah.
He made me a servant. And the biggest part of being a leader is being a servant.
Well, thank you so much, Jon Wright. I appreciate this time. And where can people find you, and how can we support your campaign?
If you want to support my campaign, that would be awesome. We love supporters. Share the message. I think that's the most powerful thing. If you like what I have to say, if you agree with things, share the message. If you're confused about what I say, reach out.
Yeah.
You can reach me at it's Wright for Sheriff 2024 at gmail.com. You can also have my website that's about to get super active here in April once we turn in all our signatures. It's www.wrightforsheriff2024.
WRIGHT.
Yeah, WRIGHT for the word sheriff 2024.
Okay.
.com.
And
on there, if you do wish to donate, there's a support button. You click on that, hit donate, and it does it all for you.
Can people add a signature there?
Yes, they can.
Okay.
On the website, it's the most secure way to do it. I think I'm the first one to actually use it out of any politician per se in Yavapai County. The office on Fair Street helped me out with it. I think it's Fair Street. Yeah, helped me out with it, and it's a really cool system. It vets you immediately, which I think is super cool. Say for example, you put your name in. You're from Idaho or whatever, right? And you put your driver's license number in. Nope, you can't sign this petition because you're not from this county, right?
Oh, okay.
It vets you.
Cool.
So those are all legit ways to do it. It's through the state. Hopefully, it's not the same people that did the Kerry Lake voting, but
yeah.
But I think this computer program got a little. Sorry, I had to throw that in.
No, man, wrong ballot paper.
Yeah, dude. It's like, how do you run for office, bro? And you have your own people counting.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
It's the most insane thing I ever heard. Like,
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Well, is there anything else that you want to say to anybody listening?
Yeah, well, I want to say to you, man, thank you for approaching me.
Yeah.
I know, like you said, I could look serious at times, but I'm just a big goofball man with a heart that's just trying to help this county, right?
Yeah.
But I appreciate your time.
Right on, likewise.
Be able to be here.
All right, thank you. Take care.
All right, you too.